just going to say, if you introduce me, I don't need anything long.
Okay.
But
Well, here we go. We're live now. And guys, this is our guest, Tom Wakechild. Tom is a returning guest, second time up. And we're going to do this on a regular basis because Tom has much to share. We're going to do a brief introduction, and that was it. So, Tom, let's dive in.
oh, okay. Well, what I'd like to do is to actually, this should be a blend of a learning session, question and answer. And what I think is important is for us to particularly take a topic and to start exploring that topic. So like in this case, the topic of this uh, podcast is really being here, you, and A Course in Miracles. So what we're interested in is just how do we handle our personal relationships? How do we apply maybe the principles to the Course? So the first question, Ludwig Wittgenstein was by many the greatest philosopher of the 20th century. And he said that our philosophical problems were really non-existent. They were caused by language and misuse of logic. So what Wittgenstein was saying was that basically we need to make sure that we're on the same wavelength as to what we mean. Last week I mentioned the idea of, the Course says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. But for most people, that doesn't make much sense because most people perceive reality to be their own, to have some type of physical form. And since form is constantly changing, according to the Course in Miracles of being changeless, it can't be real. Another quality of real is this idea that if it's real, it should have some impact. It should have the ability to change what you are or how you react. And since the Course comes from the idea that you are mind or spirit and not the physical body, and you remain as God created you, you're changeless. And therefore, anything that occurs on this, I'll call it time-space continuum, is something that has no ability to change what you really are. So the overall thing is what we want to do in these discussions is to try and make it practical, because I believe that if your spirituality cannot help you now to become more peaceful, have more joy in your life, it's not very valuable. And the Course in Miracles can be very valuable, and your philosophy can be very valuable in helping you do that. So I guess one of the questions we said that being here, you, and A Course in Miracles. Eric, what do you think of whenever someone says A Course in Miracles? How would you define it? Do you have any thought on that?
I do. For me, Course in Miracles is a livable process that brings, I'm going to use your word, practicality, that I liken it almost to a consistent Zen-like ability of when I forgive, I'm happier. When I practice kindness, I'm happier. That forgiveness allows me to see past the error to the correction of the error. And every possible moment that I'm able to hand these problems over to the Holy Spirit, or whatever term people like to use. So it's a very workable system for me in a way that Some of my other practices have not always been. Uh, you know, I was talking this afternoon about my long-term practice of yoga, which I love. Same with meditation. But it's often as if there's a carrot dangling from a stick. That at the end of my yoga practice, if everything goes right, I might be more peaceful. I might reach a state of samadhi, a state of bliss, maybe temporarily, maybe longer. Course in Miracles gives me practical applications, tools that doesn't dangle anything in front of me. It gives me the present moment of, do I want to choose happiness, or do I want to stay in whatever might be occurring that is leaving me feeling separate, alone, uh, or whatever it is that I might be feeling in that moment.
Okay, that's good. And what you're talking about is the impact that A Course in Miracles can have. But
Yes.
whenever I say, what is A Course in Miracles, what I want people to realize is it's kind of this book. And one of the things that the Course in Miracles asks you, and this one here is the Foundation for Inner Peace, the second edition. We call the Blue Book a lot of times. There's other versions, but this one here is something that's a lot of copies have been sold, 3 million plus. And I think it's got a good reference basis. So it's important to realize that A Course in Miracles is, I'm going to say, a philosophy, and it's a philosophical mindset, but it's also practical. Uh, so it's something that the Course says whenever you come to the Course in Miracles, you need to come with empty hands. So that means that it's asking us to suspend, at least temporarily, all our old beliefs and be open-minded and to explore what it's saying. Unfortunately, the Course is esoteric in its writing and difficult to decipher. But there's other aids that you can use for to help you with that. But rather than listen to a teacher, you really want to get to the as well as you can conceive the origins of the item that you're studying. So if something's in Greek and you don't understand Greek, you're going to have to seek something that will translate it into it. If it's too esoteric or it's confusing, you might need somebody to help guide you. But don't take someone else's message, including mine, and say that that must be right because somebody said it. You're always here to decide for yourself what values you're going to utilize to help you navigate this world. And the Course in Miracles can help you do that. Being here is interesting because it's a term that we often think we know what it means, but what is here anyways? Does or do you have any idea whenever I say I'm here or in this world, what does that mean?
It's a good question. So to be in this world, especially in light of my own practice of the Course in Miracles,
Mhm.
in which the cosmology of a course, the metaphysics of the course, tells us that there is no actual here. This world uh, isn't real, and yet the experience, the bodily existence, uh, tells me otherwise. The ego tells me otherwise. So for me, being here is uh, being within a body, being within the world, illusory or otherwise, and accompanied by all of the uh, distresses, all of the afflictions, as well as, you know, some happiness that a physical world will bring you. And yet at the same time, knowing that ultimately I can experience otherwise.
Okay. Well, that's, again, uh, an excellent answer. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything
That's
like
okay.
that.
That's okay.
But, we want some communication that's kind of back and forth.
Sure.
But whenever we talk about this world, what the Course in Miracles really is saying is this world, and you use the word illusionary or is not real. Uh, when we understand that real means changeless, that it has no ability to change what you truly are, that's what makes it unreal. Because nothing that happens out here can actually change how you're created. You're perfect, whole, and complete. And that's your reality. That's your true reality. It's not necessarily how you perceive yourself. This world that we uh, live in, okay, is a world of perception, not reality. And so we're constantly filtering events that come our way, and we're interacting with those events. And based on our filters, we adjust and create stories about those things. But the world is not something that I'm going to say that we should ignore because the Course in Miracles says it's an illusion. We should realize that what the Course in Miracles is really saying is that you are and will always remain as God created you, part of that oneness, perfect, whole, and complete. And therefore, this world has no ability to change what you really are. And because it has no ability to change what you really are, it might as well be nothing because it results in nothing. It doesn't change you. The only way that it changes you is if you allow it to. Otherwise, if you buy into that you are the body, there's something that, I'm going to be saying some of the terms that are in this, in the glossary, in A Course in Miracles Made Practical. But there's two axioms that I want to just briefly mention. Uh, you can piece together them. They're in the book or they're in the workbook. But I'm going to call one the axiom for knowledge. You've probably heard it before if you're familiar with the Course. Maybe not called this, uh, but it could also be called the belief system for love and forgiveness. And that says that I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me. Nothing sources my experience but me, and nothing can cause me to lose my inner peace unless I allow it. So this world can't really cause me to lose my inner peace unless I buy into the idea that I'm the body or I'm not free. And it's interesting to look at uh, knowledge, and there's 6 points in knowledge, and we can go over those, and maybe I will, but I want to touch on, they also have what they call the laws of chaos, which I would say we could call is the axiom for fear, the fear-based thought system. And this is how that law might read, or axiom for the laws of chaos. I am a body. I am not free. I am not as God created me. Nothing sources my experiences, or not nothing. I'm used to anything sources my experience but me, and anything can cause me to lose my inner peace, and I have no power to prevent it. That's what the laws of chaos or the fear-based thought system is really asking you to believe, and is, what we allow it to do. we accept the idea that we're a body, or we accept the idea that at death we will be judged by some God that will judge us probably harshly. Okay. And so we transform our God of love into a God of fear. And now we're not free. What do you think, Eric, freedom means? Are you free? Let me ask you this. I'll put you this question. If I uh, said, and let's just assume, like most people, you assume that you're the body. And when your body ceases to operate, you maybe cease to exist, or maybe you're going to be judged. But if I were to ask you to do something and were to say, uh, Eric, what I want you to do is to help me mow my lawn. Okay, let's just say that. And you, uh, and then I go and I say, and Eric, if you don't mow my lawn, I'm going to kidnap your wife and children and everything else. But you're free to decide. How free are you? Is that freedom?
Right. Some people would say yes, that you do have that freedom to choose, but it's the same with when we think of, am I free to? That's a tough question, Tom. Let's
That's the kind I like to ask. I'm
it is the
sorry.
kind you like to ask.
But what it does is, what it really means is you have, as you said, uh, choice. You do have the ability to say, no, I'm not going to mow your lawn.
Is
Or
that freedom though?
is that freedom? Freedom, to have true freedom, the answer that you give must have no consequences. Now, that's totally free. You know that you can make that decision and live your own principles, and you don't have to worry about consequences. So, true freedom is the ability to choose A, B, C, or none of the above, and not have to worry about consequences. That's what this world is there for us to realize, that it has no ability to cause you to change
So
because of how you define yourself.
you would say we are unattached to the outcome of our choices. That especially if we are leaving that choice to the Holy Spirit,
Uh, I would, I don't know if I would say, would you repeat that again? You are unattached to,
to the outcome of the choices that we've made. That
well,
whatever choice we make, we will rest content in the results that follow.
and the reason that you'll rest content is because you made the decision, and perhaps you're living your authentic self. Uh, Now, in this case, if you, and we can, maybe touch what fear is. How would you, what is fear, anyways? We throw it out all the time, but what is fear?
You know, I'm thinking fear is more of a psychological reaction uh, to events, including the event of thought,
Hmm.
rather than the we often think of being attacked physically as fear, but to me that's a physiological and biochemical reaction. But fear would be the belief. Fear would we could maybe say that fear is a belief. That fear is a belief that we are unable to cope with the consequences of whatever choice that we might make. If I make this choice, this might happen. If I make this choice, I might lose something of value. If I
Hmm.
make another choice, uh, my wife life might leave me, if I make this choice, that we have that psychological fear of what hasn't happened, but we think the possibility that it might be so, it might occur, or uh, the fear of things that have happened.
Okay. Well, that's good. I want to give you what uh, is the definition of fear. Uh, Fear is a state of agitation that arises whenever you believe you lack the creative power to handle a given situation. Okay. So, what that's basically saying is that if there was a lion in the next room, okay, and I didn't know it, I wouldn't be in the state of fear. I wouldn't be agitated because I wouldn't really know that there was anything to fear. Uh, Fear arises anytime you get either of these two questions wrong. The first is, what am I? And what do you value and why? The what am I? If I define myself as a body, I am going to be constantly in a state of fear because I believe that the body is me and therefore it needs to be protected. If I, and let's just do the 6 points of knowledge. Uh, you are mind, pure mind. Okay, so that's saying that you're spirit. Uh, what the Course says is that you're sinless and fearless because you were created out of love. Point number 3 is you have never left your source and therefore you remain as you were created. Number 4, since knowledge was given to you, you can't lose it. You can forget it. And that's why the Course says we're here to remember the truth of what we are. We're here to remember that we are not the body, okay? And that knowledge is given to every living thing, and only by knowledge does it live. And that knowledge was the gift of creation, and therefore it is given to all and cannot be learned. It can be remembered, it can't be learned because you already have it. You are that. You just don't necessarily realize it. So uh, the important thing is if we define ourselves as a body, and we also want to maybe add this caveat that uh, we believe that, well, I'll back up, and that we want to continue to have experiences on this time space continuum planet Earth. Okay. Then, if we want to have those experiences, we might choose to protect the game token we call the body, because without it, we can't play on this time space continuum. Okay.
So
So
could we
that's a choice.
could
Go
we
ahead.
sum it up as being fear is the belief that I am limited and only a body?
Yes, that would probably be good, but you could still perceive yourself to be a spirit, otherwise a soul. But if you perceive that there's some judgmental God out there, you'll still be in fear. So what we have to do is we have to go beyond that if we're really to eliminate fear. Uh, Ask me later, but I'll give you a definition of what you are, because that's one of the things uh, being here. We've talked about what here is, but here is this play school, this dimension of time and space. And we live in a world of perception. So time and space is 4 dimensions. Perception is the 5th dimension, which is our beliefs, which filter all the events. So we live in at least a 5-dimensional playfield. That's us. And now, whenever we say fear arises anytime you get the first question, what am I, wrong? Okay, so if you perceive that I am a body and I am not free and I am not as God created me, anything sources my experience, or anything sources my experience but me, and nothing can cause me to lose my inner peace. or anything could cause me to lose my inner peace, and I have no power to prevent it, you're going to be constantly in fear. But if we can shift that, if we can shift it to, I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me, okay? Nothing sources my experience but me, and nothing can cause me to lose my inner peace unless I choose to allow. We empower that individual, and we say that you, as decision maker, have the ability to decide for yourself how you're going to play these the events that the universe throws your way. Okay, now, whenever we say the events that the universe swirls their way, and we started the idea of example of me asking Eric to cut my grass, and then having a lot of threats associated with it. Okay, so with this in mind, we've got to look at the experience and says, did Eric have freedom of choice? He didn't, because there were consequences. Did Eric have what oh, Frankel? Did he have liberty of choice? He didn't. We don't have liberty of choice in the time-space continuum because we don't control all the moving parts. But we always have, Frankel said, and for what it's worth, he was a psychologist, philosopher, and he was in the Nazi concentration camps.
Right.
Okay, Man's Search for Freedom is his book. But anyways, he said, although we don't always have liberty of choice because our options will be limited, we always have the freedom of interpretation of what we're giving meaning to those events. And so what we want to be aware of is, although I can, I have to make a choice. Eric has to make a choice of what he's going to do. He always can control how he's going to interpret those events. Is he going to say that, well, I am willing to accept the consequences because I have certain principles that I'm going to follow, and therefore I'm going to be authentic to myself? Or is Eric going to say, well, in this case, I still have some learning lessons, or I'm in such a state of fear because I perceive myself to be the body and the body is me. And if I don't cut the grass, these terrible things will happen to perhaps not myself, but my family. So then Eric makes a choice, but he doesn't do it because of fear as living his principle. He says, I value my family. Okay, I'm going to do this action. And there's, I'm going to say, for Eric, the only one that he has to answer for is himself. So what we want you to be, if we want the close message to be Parker, we have to realize that in this time and space, you've come here for the experiences of seeing in a world of duality whether or not you could live the principles that you've determined were to guide your life. It's easy to be a holy man on a mountain. So if Eric was always loving and was the greatest guy in the world and puffed me up and all this other stuff, it would be easy to say, oh, Eric's a real good guy. I really love him or I like him. But can you do it to somebody that maybe is not being nice to you? And that's what this world provides. It provides a platform, a game board, where our game token, the body that holds the space for us on this game board, can interact with other tokens, other parts on the game board, and decide how they're going to play their role, decide how they're identified. Course in Miracles, and I'll often say that the ego takes this world to be a place that's determined, that we're here to discover what I am. Ultimately, and the game is, what am I? What am I? We're constantly saying, what am I? What the Course wants us to do is not ignore this world, perhaps, but to say, I'm going to change the game of what am I to I am that. These are the principles. I'm going to demonstrate those principles. Course in Miracles says that our body is a neutral communication device. It's here to communicate our values. We're here as a being. I won't fill this at you, but I'll just say there's a law of being. And the law of being really is saying that I am not a being, I am being. Sounds like I said the same thing. No, one is a being, which is a noun, and the other is being, which is a verb. So the name of this was being here, not a being here. It's being here. You're here to demonstrate. So the law of being, I'm just going to read something from the glossary. Okay, you are not a being. You are being. The difference between being, which is a verb, and a being, which is a noun, is this. A being perceives itself as having a separate, autonomous existence, independent from the whole. It views life as a zero-sum game, kind of one of the laws of chaos. Life is a zero-sum game. What I've taken from others, I have to steal. Okay. A being's goal is to get its own personal needs met. It only gives to get. Okay. If I'm a being, I perceive myself to always need something because I'm not part of the whole. There's something that makes me incomplete. Okay, so I need those other things. So I only give to get. Being, okay, which is a verb. Being comes from a mindset of oneness and joining. You do things because you want to manifest what you are rather than to gain some external reward. If I'm a being, I'm always trying to earn some reward or avoid some punishment. Okay. Therefore, as a being, you're acting out of service and attention. Now, to attend is really to be present and to be of service. When you're a being, you are demonstrating what you are by being of service to others. As an individual part of a one self, you realize that to give is to receive. So what we're saying is we're here to demonstrate what we value. If I do not believe that I am the body and the body is not me, okay, and someone holds a gun to my head and says, go ahead and shoot this person or kill this person or whatever it might be. If I am strong in my belief of what I am, and I no longer have any belief that this world is going to have valuable learning lessons that's worth the energy that's needed to expend to maintain it or to go against my values, I will choose to take the bullet. If I am in fear, and in this case, what you're talking about is someone who has a certainty and therefore says, I choose to live my values, my principles, and I realize that I'm not a body, therefore I have more options. But if you were somebody that perceived themselves to be a body, okay, you're not going to see that as a viable option or a good option. You're going to see that as a threat. If I want to be here because I know that there's learning lessons, or perhaps, and whatever the reason might be, that I have some value to give or learning lessons, and my fear uh, is not at that high of a level, I'll have more options. But I don't want to say that because Eric didn't, or Tom didn't take a bullet in his head whenever he was asked to shoot somebody, and Eric did, because Eric believed he was unlimited spirit, and it went against his principles. We're not here to judge that Tom, quote unquote, failed. Okay, we don't know why Tom decided that he wouldn't take a bullet in the head. Okay, we just know that for whatever reason, he chose not to. Now, maybe it's because he was afraid, and that was the way to reduce his fear. He asked the Holy Spirit, "What should I do?" The Holy Spirit says, "Hey, Tom, you're in trouble. You're really in a state of fear. The only way we can help you grow and learn and reawaken to your true self is that if you uh, reduce that fear. And if that means to say, okay, whatever you say I'm going to do, that's the guidance you'll actually get from the Holy Spirit." And if Ripley's, believe it or not. Why? Because the Holy Spirit is never going to do anything that would cause you to increase your fear. The Holy Spirit is always realizing that you're here as a learner, and that we're here to test out and hone our skills. And if at this point in time, I don't seem to have the resources or with the wherewithal, because of my level of fear, to maybe make a choice that I would like to, then I should make that choice. Why? Because that's a way to reduce my fear. And as I learn and maybe become more aware of what I truly am, and increase that ladder of believability that I am truly not a body, I am free, then we'll have more. So like the power of being is the power of thought, feeling, creation, perceiving, and knowing. Being is demonstrating what you value and why. When you know what you are, which is a oneness of love, you realize to give is to receive. To love God, give is to receive. When you believe that you are a being, the goal is to only give to give. And there's the difference. So when we start off and we say being here, we don't want you to necessarily perceive that you're a being, a man. That is, increases and supports the idea of separation, but that you're here to demonstrate what you truly value and why. So it's not what I do so much as why I do it. If Eric took a bullet in his head and I didn't, it becomes not a question of what we did, but why we did it. If I felt that I could not do that, not because I was in fear, but because I had more lessons to learn, or that whatever it might be, I uh, have to look at what did I do? Why did I do it? Okay, so it's not the action. I can give $1 million, and it's not necessarily charity if the reason that I was doing it so I could get my name on some wall, or get some honor. It's always a question. Fear arises anytime you answer either of these two questions incorrectly. First is, what am I? The second is, what do I value and why? And there, if I perceive myself to be lacking, if I perceive myself to be, I'm going to say, uh, sinful, lacking, separate, not perfect, whole, and complete. Otherwise, if I perceive myself to be not perfect, not whole, and very incomplete, uh, I'm going to be in fear. But if I
Tom,
answer, go ahead.
does one answer the other? When I get the answer of who am I, do the things that I value change? And conversely, if I find what I truly value, does that answer who I am?
Uh, you're here to demonstrate what your values are. You know, we talk about the ego, and we make it out to be a bad thing. But the ego is really how we answer the question at this moment of what am I? It's your values. And in regards to this, we all have certain values, and what we're here to be is to demonstrate those values, and we do it in a place where duality is required and where we have choices. Uh, ultimately, uh, if you answer that first question correctly, what that really means is that now you have options because you've given yourself the freedom to not have to be, as the Buddha would say, perhaps attached to the fruits of your labor. Because now you can allow the universe to support you so that you can support God or your brothers and sisters in helping reawaken them to the truth that they are the Christ.
So
That
I could still be doing the same thing as
correct.
before. The outer doesn't have to change at all, but the inner is what's changed.
Yes, the inner that the Course says don't try and change the world, change how you view the world, which is really change your beliefs about how you perceive it. And the world will automatically change. The law.
Can you hear me, Tom? Tom, I don't know if you can hear me, but you froze on my end. Guys, is he frozen for you guys too? The best way to fix this would be to, if you could back out of the chat and then hit the same link again and come back in. Take my sleep med as we take the break here. Thank you, medic. Fireman said yes, he's frozen. I will send him a text real quick. Fruit flies, guys. So some technical difficulties. If anyone has, when Tom comes back, and hopefully he will be able to make it back. I know there he is.
Okay, I was going to say I don't know when I cut out, but I lost connection over here, I believe. At
Right.
least that's what it said. So, anyways, well, do you know where I was that when I got cut off?
We were talking about the Course doesn't ask you to change the world, but to change how you perceive the world.
Okay, fine. So, in regards to this, it's a world of perception, and the law of seeing. I'll just quote what the law of seeing is, but it's one of the three laws that actually apply to everything, including this world. But the law of seeing says you will look upon that which you feel within. If hatred finds a place in your heart, you will see a world of seeming hate and fear. If only love is there, you will see a world full of mercy and love. So that's what we have to realize, that the law of seeing says that the law of perception, of course, says to condemn and you are made prisoners, to give and you are set free. And the law of God says to give is to receive. The law of chaos and the law of the ego that perceives itself to be a body is you only give to give. What I perceive that I lack, I need to take from somebody else, and it's a zero sum game. So that's uh, what is we're slowly working our way. Uh, so I don't know if you've got any questions that you want, or we can proceed, because we've just talked about being here, and this world is really a place for us to demonstrate what we are. We've come here not. Here's a question: why, why would we come here anyway? Uh, what is there something wrong with being here? Is there something inherently wrong with you because you're here, Eric?
I'm going to say yes.
So there's something wrong with you.
There is something wrong with me as related solely through an ego. That in the end, the choices that I'm making from an egoic perspective have to do with uh, acquiring and hoarding and seeking, defining myself. And that's it's a struggle.
Okay. What I would say is that I'm going to go out on a limb that you're wrong.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with you, and you actually answered it correctly. You said, although you said that there must be something wrong with me, there was nothing wrong with you. There was something wrong with the plan that you were following. You still remain as God created you. You still remain part of that oneness. But now we have bought into the idea that we lack, that we're limited, we're separate.
Would you say that I've placed my values on lack, and my values on separation, and my value on acquiring, uh, and that once I answer who I am, then I could still pursue those, but my values would be different.
Well, I would say that you may still have those items, or maybe accumulate more of them. But the real key is, and I've mentioned this before, the Course in Miracles is black and white. What we want to do is to make all kinds of grades. When you said that there's something wrong with me, you basically said that either you changed how God created you, or that God's so stupid that he screwed up whenever he created you. Okay. Uh, both of those things are wrong. That's an authority problem issue. Uh, God created you, and what it is that we could believe that we're created by God. Okay, but if we believe that God is not a God of love, then maybe he's somebody that gets his kicks out of creating a bunch of screwballs. So it becomes the question of knowing what you truly are. Now, the Course in Miracles, and I'll say this, The Course in Miracles is a philosophy, and it's a complete philosophy, and it also has the text is the intellectual understanding of it. It doesn't prove that it's right because you can't prove the idea that I am not a body. You can know it, okay? Personally, you can have revelations and know it uh, and believe that, but I can't prove to Eric or to Joe that he's not the body. Okay, I can believe that for myself. Okay, but I can't prove it. Now, the course, and what I like about the Course in Miracles, it has a workbook, 365 daily lessons, that if you understand them, uh, that will help you have some experiences, some experiential learning as opposed to observational or book learning, so that we can actually demonstrate those learning principles and know that we are capable of doing it when the rubber meets the road. So the workbook provides some baby stepping to reawakening. The first part of the workbook is trying to tell us that this world is a world of perception and not reality. And therefore, because it's a product of our own mind, we have a tremendous ability to influence how we perceive our world. Okay. The second part is more on uh, trying to define and explain what you are and correct various things like what is forgiveness, what is the world, stuff like that, which is theoretical. The course itself, unfortunately, says that the workbook uh, won't do you much good unless you understand the theory, and it doesn't necessarily present the theory in the workbook. It says, well, it hopes that you'll somehow decipher that from the text. Not that, uh, we said that this here is the blue book, okay, and there's a section uh, about half of it is the text. Okay, then there is the workbook, and then there is the manual for teachers. Uh, this thing here, okay, Understanding Course in Miracles workbook lesson, uh, combines the theory and the lessons so that you have them both. Because the course says without the theory or the reason why you're doing these lessons, you'll find that it's not of value, of little value, or you'll cease and not continue. So the course is a total philosophy, but although it can tell us that you're God's beloved child, that doesn't necessarily prove it to you. You can only learn that from experiences. Okay. And what we're here to do is to find out what those experiences. Eric, you meditate, you mentioned you reach a high state sometimes of oneness, stuff like that. Because of that experience, Eric now has probably an increased believability that he's not just the body. Okay, that somehow he's connected because of that experience. Now, Eric can't transfer that experience to me. I have to do it myself. And that's what we're here for, is to practice, to hone our skills and do it when we've got skin in the game, when we seem to have consequences. So what we're here for is to reawaken to the truth. And we do that by living those principles. And we're here and, we can baby step our way to the quote unquote promised land. or we could do it instantaneously. But to do that, we have to have 100% certainty, and there is no gray. So, of course, in Miracles is easy if you realize it's black and white, which means that if I believe I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me, nothing source of my experience but me, and nothing can cause me to lose my inner peace unless I choose to allow it. Huh. What a different mindset. I'm no longer a victim. I have been given the power to be a deliberate creator and experience and see if I can demonstrate those things. And because I'm free, you know, I'll just throw something out for you because people, uh, eternity, well, maybe I should say what time is because, but time, what is time anyways? Time is the dimension in which individual consciousness appears to recognize that something has changed. That something may be a living thing, a non-living thing, an idea, an event, a condition, or circumstance. The change may be in terms of growth, decay, evolution, integration, or other natural developments that are in accordance with the intention of the perceiver. Time is the measure of change. It is the belief that there's a gap between cause and effect. Okay. In reality, there's just a now. But so time is this belief that, as Eric said, there's something wrong with him. There's something wrong with me. And I need time to have experiences that help me reawaken to the truth that I remain as God created me, that there is no separation, there is no lack, there is no limitation. Eternity, eternity is a realization that this moment and forever are exactly the same. You are always free and clear from the past. The past has no consequence on what you choose to be aware of in the present moment. Therefore, there is neither a past nor guilt to bind you. There is no separation that has ever occurred. There is nothing in this moment that can dictate your future, since each moment is independent by itself. We've been taught and we believe that the past results in what we have has consequences that we experience in the now, the present, or the future. This is saying that there is nothing in this moment that can dictate your future, since each moment is independent by itself. The Course might term this choose again. Don't beat yourself up. Realize it's a mistake. It's a learning lesson. Choose again. Okay. Um, you rest in the perfect safety of God's unconditional love because you remain as God created you. And now you know that God is only love. You are totally free. You can make you can make the choice to exchange time for eternity by accepting the fact that you remain as God created you, sinless and fearless, an indivisible part of the one self that is the holographic mind of God. Wow. So eternity is just realizing that you're free. It's really realizing that I'm not a body, I'm free. I'm still as God created me. Okay. Nothing
We
sources my experience but
we have
me.
a question, Tom.
Yeah.
Uh, is the Holy Spirit's function within this world to truly heal the split mind, or is it its true function merely to help the mind reinterpret the dream so it can finally be let go?
Oh, that's an interesting question. And could you repeat it
Yes.
again so people have the question?
Is the Holy Spirit's function within this world to truly heal the split mind, or is its true function merely to help the mind reinterpret the dream so it can finally be let go of?
Um, the Holy Spirit's purpose is to help you reawaken to the truth of what you really are, that you are as God created you. The Holy Spirit because of where we are. The Holy Spirit will always meet us where we are. Otherwise, where we believe ourselves to be. And what it'll do is it will gently reawaken. It won't slap you beside the face and say, "No, you're stupid, Tom. Don't you realize you're, not God's mistake? You're God's treasure." It won't do that. Why? Because maybe I can't handle it in my present state of fear. I perceive myself to be a sinner, and I don't think I'm maybe worthy because I believe and have been taught that love has to be earned. Okay, so the Holy Spirit's purpose in space and time, okay, is to help us slowly reawaken to the truth. And it'll do it as rapidly as we allow it, which means that, and this is interesting, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, or whatever, they can't take away your fear. Jesus says, "Hey, Tom, I can't take away your fear." Why? Because your fear is a product of your own mind. And unless you're willing to be open, come with empty hands, or accept the fact that uh, there's nothing wrong with you. You might have a stinking plan, but there's nothing wrong with you. Uh, I will be in here. So the Holy Spirit is gently reawakening. It's that part of you that knows the truth and is aware of what we perceive or misperceive ourselves to be, and now says, the truth is Tom's perfect, whole, and complete. The reality is he thinks he's an idiot and he refuses to listen. So what do? I can't force him to wake up to the truth because that would scare the bejeebers out of him. That would overthrow his whole thought system and he'd go insane. So what I have to do is I have to gently bring Tom forward so that he starts realizing that maybe I'm a sinner, but maybe I can earn redemption, or maybe Jesus died on the cross so that I could, be free, whatever it might be. That could be a baby step that gets me off of fear. So now I have more options to believe. Now I believe Jesus saved me, okay, or that for whatever reason I've been forgiven, okay. And now I move up the ladder. And as we move up and reduce our level of fear and get closer and closer to the truth that we remain as God created us, perfect, whole, and complete, and part of that oneness, then we start realizing that we have more options. Our beliefs start changing. We build corollary beliefs. It might be that now I have to earn my way to heaven. So I move from a sinner that has no hope, or like me, I was the Detroit devil, what I was told. And I moved to the idea that I'm a devil, but maybe I can earn my way to the promised land. And that reduces my fear. And then I start having more and more experiences. And then maybe I start awakening to the idea that maybe this world isn't the hell I thought it was. Maybe God is not a God of love, but a God of, or not a God of fear, but a God of love. And I start opening up to new possibilities. And as my beliefs change and I start increasing that level of belief, then what happens automatically is I start opening myself up to a universe that will support what I believe. Because if we normally want to be right rather than happy. So it tends to give us what we believe. If we believe we're a jerk, or that the world is a cruel place. That's what we'll perceive. That's how we'll interpret it. So that allows me to baby step my way up there. So the Holy Spirit is there to, it knows the truth, but it knows where Tom currently perceives himself to be. And therefore, it gently baby step allows him to baby step his way because Tom is not willing to drop his fears and accept the truth that God is only love. I refuse to do that because if that was true, oh, my world would be turned upside down and I wouldn't be able to blame everybody else or whatever it is that, or I don't get to blame God because he screwed up whenever he created me, you know. So that's what the Holy Spirit does. He's that bridge that knows the truth. It's kind of uh, confusing, but Course Miracle says God only knows that you're perfect, whole, and complete. Uh, the Holy Spirit, so to speak, knows the truth about you and knows that you don't believe it. Okay, so it's going to try and get you there. Now, Jesus says, um, if you want to be like me, knowing that we are the same, I will help you. If you want to, if you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind. If you want to argue for your rightness, Jesus is not going to say you're wrong. He's going to wait. Okay, you want to suffer around and think you're a worthless piece of whatever? I'll let you. But if you decide, if you change your mind and you want some help, I'll help you. But I can't do it for you. I can't force you because if I could force you, that would put you in greater fear because we would lose our own self power. You're here to become the deliberate creator of your own self identity and to realize that your self identity is the truth that you remain as God created you. And God didn't create any junk. That's why I said there's nothing wrong with Eric. Could be something wrong with your plant. Whatever. I was younger. If you would have woke me up in the middle of a deep sleep and said, Tom, what's your purpose? Why are you? I would have just blurted out, not to come back here because I hated the world that I was sure hated me. And as long as you think that this world is a place that you can't be and live in peace, that's the thinking that will result in you having to come back here because what you resist persists and you haven't learned the lesson that nothing can wrong you. So it was my idea that this world was such a terrible place that would trap me to never be able to escape it.
Do you think there's a choice in coming back at a certain point, maybe?
Well, you're the keeper of your own karma keys. God doesn't condemn us. We condemn ourselves. Doesn't matter what Joe thinks. It's that we're our harshest critic. We might not realize that, but that Holy Spirit or that higher self, what I call the big S self, to designate it from the ego, the one that knows the truth of what we are. Okay. You can't fool Mother Nature. Okay. It knows that you're faking it, that you're saying that I'm perfect, whole, and complete, but I don't act that way. Okay. So it will keep on repeating. Although we don't want to get into creation cycles, but if you're experiencing negative creation cycles, you can bet your booty that there's some lesson in it that you still refuse to learn. If it's disturbing your peace, you're in a negative creation cycle. It's trying to tell you, wake up. And you need to ask yourself, what would I have to believe about myself to cause or to bring that into my awareness, to attract that into my awareness? Because there's a lesson that it's trying to teach you. And that lesson is always trying to help you remember the truth of what you are so that you can eliminate your fear. So my goal to end the fear, but sometimes we have to baby step our way to manage fear. But you'll never get what you want as long as you try and work within the fear-based thought system, because that thought system was designed to create, maintain, and perpetuate fear in the first place. So for us to think that we can escape fear by digging in the field of fear that creates more and more is foolish. We have to pull up the rig, move to a new thought system based on love and forgiveness, based on the truth of what we really are, and plant it there. And there we will find the truth. And when we find that truth, fear will be no more, because we'll realize that God didn't make any junk. And God's will is that you be happy. That's what the Course says. You know, uh, the Course says, and this is something, there's a couple of things. Course says God didn't make this world, we did, because it's a world of perception. Okay, that comes from our mind. It also says uh, being here is not a problem. Not a problem. The problem is that we try to make it real. And when we do that, we create the idea of lack, limitation, and suffering.
That's been a great source of relief for so many people when they finally do get or hear and then get that God did not create the world.
The
Because
hard work for them.
I bet it answers every question of why do we live, why did God create a world in which children are starving and people are dying of all kinds of diseases, and that there are homeless people and there's horrible weapons of mass destruction pointed at each other. And we think, what kind of God would create such a insane place? So God is
Mhm.
either insane or a God that does not care.
That's right. And that's the whole thing. Well, whatever you mentioned, that was the key. That was the one piece of the puzzle that I was missing. Uh, I like Course in Miracles because it's a complete philosophy and it has the workbook in it. But that was the one thing, because coming from a Catholic background and uh, uh, just this idea that God was a God of love, and here's this thing. God's a God of love. So what he did, he had only one, because he loved us, he decided to kill him and make him suffer. Because we, or Adam and Eve, we didn't even do it, Adam and Eve did something wrong. You know, is he somebody you'd want to meet in a dark alley? I don't think so. Okay. And that thing, so it was, how do you reconcile the idea that even the Christianity says God is a God of love, and yet we see that he must be a God of wrath. Okay, those, and give some mystery, and I used to ask the nuns, well, how can this be? And how can he have created this world? Is he was a moron and too stupid, or he didn't give us enough grace or whatever it is to be able to not screw up. Okay, so either way, it's God's fault. Okay, and whenever we realize that this world is created, it was what the Course in Miracles calls the insane idea. There was nothing wrong with coming here. The insane idea was when we forgot to laugh and took it seriously. And that's why I like to call this world a play school instead of a school where heaven and hell hang in the balance. Because a
With
play
a,
school is here for fun and learning.
I was going to say, with an emphasis on the play.
Yeah. Okay. And the learning just is a natural consequence. It's because we wanted to experience, not in an abstract idea, but actually in form, which requires some type of duality. Okay. Like I said, it's easy to be a holy man on a mountain, but we need somebody that we perceive to be other than us so that we can be kind or we can be helpful. If Joe's got everything that he needs, you know, or I have an unlimited supply, it's difficult to be that. So this was the world that we created. Whenever we forgot to laugh, we made it serious. We took it seriously. And now we perceived ourselves to now have to earn our way back to the promised land. Or maybe we were never to come back. Who knows? But when we forgot to laugh, we made the game of separation into cost us our, use the word, soul. And the Course in Miracles says, no, that's the mistake. You forgot to laugh. Remember, this is your play school that you wanted to come here. Why? You know, it says God doesn't, oh, yeah, I shouldn't say, but God doesn't understand why we had this mad idea, you know, but, we did. And so he said, well, fine. If you want to play in this play field, you can have fun and you can reawaken and you'll have a richer, rewarding experience. Like I say, they make horror films and people like ourselves maybe go to them. Why? Because we get a kick out of being scared out of our wits. I don't know, but there's nothing wrong with playing the game. The thing is, whenever we uh, victim or victimizer, there are no victims or victimizers. We're all willing volunteers, and I guess in this book, there's a personal experience. Like I say, revelations or personal experiences are things that you can relate to somebody, but unless you actually experienced it, you can't necessarily translate it. They've got to take it on faith or belief. Eric's had the experience of meditating and feeling that connection. He no longer has to experience. People that have had maybe near-death experiences, uh, those people maybe have had the experience, and one of the common threads that seem to run through the near-death experiences that these people come back with the big picture. They understand that the big picture is, and they realize that maybe life doesn't need to be taken so seriously. So there's things that will help us reduce our fear but we need to be aware. Here, I've said that I would give you a definition for what you are. And I just, okay. You are an infinite, individuated aspect of consciousness. As such, you are a feedback loop that allows you to witness the effects of the choices you're making in the depths of your mind that rests within the mind of God. Each thought is the vibration of creation, which you use to communicate to the world and attempt to experience communion with all of life. Based on these experiences, you decide if mid-course corrections are warranted when you compare your current self-identity, otherwise what you believe yourself to be, to the truth of that oneness. So that's what you really are. Consciousness uh, is comprised of three things: assumptions, beliefs we refuse to we make, and thing that opens another can of worms, and maybe we'll be hold off for a different discussion. But whenever you understand that your consciousness, and that's consciousness, you have the ability or the creative energy to decide where you're going to place that energy in the creation cycle. So we are a participant, and we also are an observer, that we can observe events that we may have a leading role in or a minor role, so that we can have both experiential learning and observational learning. And a lot of time, experiential learning is learning that tends to stick better than observational. When I have more skin in the game and I come through it, or whatever, I now have some feedback that tells me how I'm doing, and that allows me to make adjustments, change my beliefs so that I'll take different action, get different experiences, or maybe graduate, although we haven't talked about it, to move the learning levels to become maybe uh, consciously competent, or perhaps even unconsciously competent. Four learning levels. Most people, and the greatest gain that we have is when we move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. That's when we know that we don't know. In this case, it would be realizing perhaps that we don't know what we are. We've been told something wrong about what we are, and now we realize that the problem is we didn't know that we were perfect or good. We didn't know that we were God's treasure, not God's greatest mistake. And when you become aware of that, now you can start moving up the ladder and learning the skills to not just realize that you think you're God's mistake, but to do something about it, to learn the skills so that you can see yourself as God's treasure. And as we practice on this time-space continuum, we practice that and get better at it. We learn those skills, and we move from a state of conscious incompetence to conscious competence. Right there, whenever we know where we've got a problem, that's whenever we make a decision. I want to invest the time and energy to move from my belief that I'm worthless to my belief that I'm worthy. Okay, what do I have to do to change that belief to become now believe that I'm worthy? and we start learning the skills, changing our beliefs to do that. And as we do, we, because of the creation cycle, we change our beliefs. We start having experiences that show that we're worthy, and what those experiences might be. Who knows? A lot of times it might be that now we're being in a state of an earner. We're trying to earn more, and we're showing that we can do those things that make us worthy. But eventually, as we have more and more experience, we'll realize that that's what we are. We're worthy. We're God's beloved child. And it'll be ingrained in us so that we'll be unconsciously confident. We'll know that we're worthy automatically rather than having to consciously be aware of it so that we practice the skill.
So that's who we are.
That's who we are. You're and don't let anybody, and we've been taught that there's something wrong with us. There's never anything wrong with you, but you could have a bad plan. And because that plan is in your mind, that means you have the power to change it. Choose again. That's what the course is. Choose again. Okay. Is there any other pressing questions that you want to take up?
For me, not right now. We'll see.
Okay.
Guys, any questions pertinent to the conversation in the chat? And then, if you don't mind, we'll get ready to wrap things up.
That's fine.
And we have, so I guess what, in 2 weeks, we'll meet again?
Yeah, I'm going to be out of the country now for a week or two. So probably not this next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday,
Okay.
we should be able to go again. And, if people have pressing issues or concerns and you want me to deal with some of those things, we can try and do those things. But what we have to do is we have to build a solid base. And that means we have to look at our assumptions that that we've assumed to be ourselves, like the idea that I'm the body and the body is me, and then look at the beliefs. And so what we're going to be trying to do is say, hey, what we want to do is, if we're going to make some real progress, shift from the laws of chaos, or, and I'll just summarize the axioms of fear. I am a body. I am not free. I am not as God created me. Or you could put a little auxiliary or caveat in there. Or I am as God created me, and he was such a screw up that he created me flawed. That's the same thing. Okay. Anything sources my experience but me. So I'm powerless. I'm a victim. Anything can cause me to lose my inner peace. Okay. Because I don't have any power. I have no power to prevent it. Victim consciousness. And our world, our fear based world, uh, pushes that victim consciousness uh, to the nth degree. What we want is responsibility consciousness, and to realize that you can adopt a new plan and you can overthrow the beliefs that you've been brainwashed into believing and the assumptions that you have about yourself. And when you do that, you can certainly better manage and control fear, but you can eliminate it. And that's really the goal.
One of my favorite words, responsibility, when we break it down as our ability to respond.
Yes.
Um, it's, summed everything up nicely. A theme that has been playing uh, for about 2 days now is that listen, I am not a body, I am free, for I'm still as God created me. And you presented icing on the cake for how that's been flowing, uh, bringing that point home very clearly and very strongly. I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your insights that you shared with us also, and for
Um,
bringing this session.
Always, of course. Um, one of the reasons when I first reached out to you and you told me that uh, you have a different approach to your teaching of the Course in Miracles, and I appreciate hearing that because it helps me um, bring together my own long-held uh, readings, insights from a course into a new perspective that I can re-examine. Are they serving me well? Are they bringing me the results, or are they not? So without that insight, without being able to see it in a new light, um, I would not be able to do that. So this has
Yeah,
been very, very valuable.
yeah. The law of Christ's vision says, "Do not mistake the body or the roles that someone plays in the drama to be their reality." Because when you do, you slip into judgment, and you realize that uh, what you've done is you've made someone else either a victim or a victimizer. We're all willing volunteers. So we can't mistake the game token or the roles that we play. I might come here, or my father might have come here with the explicit role of being my tormentor so that I could reawaken to the truth, or that I needed those experiences so that I could perhaps choose differently, to say I'm not a victim or whatever it might be. So when you start realizing that the whole universe is out trying to support your waking up, and we need people to kick us in the teeth to do that. Why? Because uh, who knows, but could be just because we do believe that we're unworthy, or like in my case, it was repeating cycle that we've been playing victimizers over and over again, many, many lifetimes. But it doesn't really uh, matter. Everything is happening now. What do you want to place your awareness on? That's why uh, the past has no ability, because you can reframe the past so that you see it as a blessing instead of a disaster.
It's a great ending for us, Tom,
Okay.
because a lot of us are haunted by the past, um, and that's the key to setting ourselves free.
Yes. We are taught that our past dictates our present and our future. You are not a product of your past. Adopt a mindset that you're the product of your future. Choose what that future is, the reawakening that you're perfect, whole, and complete. And all the past, the present, is moving you closer and closer to that destiny. And rather than be a seeker, determine that you have found and declare that to be your truth. And it it will be that. But we're always seeking, and don't seek, find. And this will become a product of the future and bring that future into the now.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Namaste to you. We're going to wrap things up, guys. Tom will be back, so we'll have more questions. We'll unpack more. There is, as Tom mentioned, we're getting that firm foundation. And from that foundation, there will be directions that we can move through.
Yeah, well, let me just say, the problem with people with the Course in Miracles or in any path is that we refuse to go back far enough to the original source of the problem. For most people, they try to resolve the problem within their own fear-based thought system. And so what we're doing is we're going back a step further and saying, let's get back to the truth of what we are so that we can have experiences to help increase the believability in what the Course says is the truth so that we can overthrow the fear-based thoughts so that you can be love-informed in a world of seeming hate and fear.
Okay, that's the direction we're heading.
That's it.
And I appreciate that. Again, namaste to you, my friend. Guys, we'll be back tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock. Come by and hang out with us. Tom will be back, and everything working out okay in about 2 weeks, and we will pick up where we left off. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful day, and I love you. Take care.
Wow.